Captain William Bertrand's welcome at Firefly Grotto was far more momentous than he could ever have wished. A message from the Harbour Master of Sirensong had preceded him by a day, bringing with it news that Billy Bertrand's son had returned to the islands and was now plying the sea lanes as a merchant sailor. William Bertrannd the Younger was not to know, however, that his second cousin, Pierre Bertrand de Sillé, was the Deputy Harbour Master of Firefly Grotto, which was William Bertrand's destination for his next contract. To outsiders from the islands, Firefly Grotto is a rather mysterious place. The island, that is, the island that is visible from afar, is in fact hollow, or rather it is the exterior to a huge cavern in which a town has been built and has flourished for generations. A town accessible only by sea, but a town trading in rare earth metals and the like. The huge cavern has two openings, and these are the only way of getting to the small town. Space is somewhat restricted, but it does allow for vessels large and small to gain access to the small town. However, gaining access, or indeed exiting from the cavern in the direction that you wish, can be a somewhat trying task, depending on the wind direction of course, as Captain Bertrand was finding on this occasion as he tried to exit, making sail for Fort Ashton. But making this task all the more tedious was of course that William Bertrannd on this occasion was doing so with a very sore head and having had a rather uncomfortable night's sleep aboard his boat. For upon meeting with his cousin, Pierre Bertrand de Sillé, he had been invited for a rather illustrious dinner at the Harbour Master's residence. A dinner party with other mariners and some of their partners that went long into the night. William had rarely been comfortable in such large companies, and had of course not attended such a party for some years, since before joining the army in fact. But William had been introduced one at a time to each of the new guests by his cousin, and the company was a very mixed group from all over the kingdom and king's territories. And William had indeed been having a fairly good time of it, until at last he was introduced to one cove who almost ruined his entire evening. His cousin had made the introductions. Mr. Fritz Barry, this is my cousin William Bertrannd, captain of the Cog Onyx. William, this is Cecil Fitzbarry, also a trader. Actually, I'm the owner of a trading company, not just a trader. I don't do that sailing anymore. I never did much like the sea, the man had quickly interrupted. He was dressed in the finest clothes of anyone at the party, a very flash-looking cove indeed. And with his tone and his mannerisms, William immediately began to develop a disliking of the man. For one, he very clearly looked down his noses at everybody he spoke to. Oh, that's right, you're in charge of your own group now. But Mr. Fitzbarry, if I may say so, you've turned out very nicely for what is nothing more than a humble gathering. Well, I've worked hard for what I have, and if you had worked as hard as I have, you would like to show it off a bit, that's all. Oh, come now, Mr. Fitzbarry. You're not fooling anybody here. I know you were already well to do, and that you made your fortune with the sea fencibles during the war. At the mere mention of the sea fencibles, William automatically felt his blood begin to boil. He hated them, every single one of them. He already felt his face reddening and his body stiffening, and his hatred must have been so plain for all to see that the man opposite him, droning on and on about the hard work he had done to make his fortune, caught William's eye and very slowly trailed off mid-sentence. Why do you look at me like that, young man? Do you have a problem with the sea fencibles, do you? As a matter of fact, sir, I do. To me, the sea fencibles were nothing but pirates, cowardly pirates. Thieves to a man, cowards to a man. A law unto themselves, nothing but a rich man's club to stop themselves or their sons and friends being drafted into the king's army and facing the real war like real men had to.
You can't talk to me like that. I'll see to it that you never sail again. You will be broke, young man.
And at that threat, William had simply leant forward, grabbed the man by his ear, and shook his head from side to side violently. Broke, you say? Is that right? Well, I'll leave you now with two choices, sir. Beg for my pardon, or broke? You'll have your skull broke upon this here marble floor. Beg for my pardon, sir. Do as I say, or you are a dead man.
You're pulling my ear off. Get off!
The sorry creature had moaned as all guests had turned to watch, many wearing rather satisfied smirks. Beg for my pardon, sir, or you are a dead man.
It was a joke. I beg your pardon, sir.
And with that, William thrust the man's head away and turned to his cousin. Pierre, another drink with you, sir. William had of course been reflecting on the previous evening's events as he had made sail for the cavern exit. Due to the direction of the wind, blowing directly in through the wind tunnel, William had to tack more than once in the narrow confines of the cavern. And indeed, he had found it hard to concentrate on his task whilst reflecting upon the previous evening's events. Nevertheless, he had gotten the vessel round twice through the eye of the wind and was hoping to make one last leg in order to exit the cave. Having pulled in the jib sail, he let the boat's very slow momentum carry him round through the eye with barely perceptible steerage way. With the cargo of cave mushrooms and sulphur, the ship was well weighed down in ballast, making her motion somewhat sluggish. Nevertheless, concentration and patience got the vessel's head around and onto the port tack, allowing William to set the jib sail once more and head for the exit. Changing tack once more as he exited the cave, the Cog Onyx was now well and truly underway, heading for Fort Astrid with its cargo, but first having to weather the rocks known as Aegir's Fingers. Aegir of course being the god that personified the sea. William had high hopes that upon reaching Fort Astrid and delivering his cargo, that he may have accumulated enough gold to provide the Cog Onyx with a new suite of sails. But he of course had to get there first. By the time he had weathered most of Aegir's Fingers and was heading out to open sea, the sun was already beginning to set. But nevertheless, William was quite happy. He had proven to himself and to any onlookers that he, a rookie as far as sailing goes, was quite capable of doing what needed to be done to get his vessel out to sea. Firefly Grotto was very much well known for its sometimes difficult approaches and departures, and though William's hangover had long since left him in peace, memories of the evening's party still remained strong, and he took some time to reflect upon the kindness of the harbour master, his cousin's immediate superior, a man from the northernmost isles of the king's territory. He had approached William following the quarrel with the well-to-do merchant. He had quite graciously approached William, held out his hand in greeting, introduced himself, and then at last asked the question that William knew must come. My dear Captain Bertrannd, there is scarcely a man here who has a good thing to say about the sea fencibles, but you, sir, have pure fire in your eye the moment they are mentioned. Forgive my impertinence, sir, if I was to ask as to why that might be. No, sir, not impertinent at all. It's a very fair question. It is due to the sea fencibles that I am in fact here right now. And though I do not for a moment regret the welcome I have had and enjoying this truly wonderful company, I had for some time held on to high hopes of enjoying time in the bosom of my family by now. But due to those corrupt creatures in the sea fencibles, I am now forced to live this cursed life, torn away from my family, and my family away from the home they loved so much. William had gone on into more detail, explaining to the harbour master exactly why he now had to live this new life. A life he had not chosen, but one he was willing to make the most of as best he could. And the harbour master had of course sympathised, offering William every possible assistance he had under his power to give in order to make William's new life in the Astrid Islands all the more comfortable for him and his family. And towards the end of the evening, when the party was due to break up, the harbour master looked over to William and bequeathed unto him a very high honour in the customs of the islands. Captain Bertrannd, as I am sure you're well aware, as the host, I am obliged by the immemorial custom of the islands to finish the night's entertainment with a request of a song from one of my guests. Would you be so kind as to honour us with a song, sir? William had immediately blushed. Oh, sir, you wouldn't want my voice to ruin such a wonderful evening, I'm sure. I cannot carry a tune to save my life, sir. Pierre, sitting next to William, spoke up. Oh, come now, cuz. You know the custom as well as I do, I'm sure. It's not about the voice that sings a song, but rather the song to be sung that matters. Come now, give us a song. Oh, okay, very well. But I'm warning you, it won't be pretty. And so William had begun. He decided to sing a rather melancholic folk song, well known amongst sailors of the kingdom. Some may have felt that this was a rather poor choice, but for William, and for those who knew William and of course knew his father, the song was very poignant indeed. He wound his way through the verse and the chorus until at last he came to the last few lines. From northern ice to southern spice, our seafarers sail free. Beneath the waves, the fallen's graves, forever they shall be. From northern ice to southern spice, the seafarers sail fine. Away from shore the heroes roar, in Ran's deep hall they dine. In Ran's deep hall they dine. His song ended and was met with rather polite applause and a pat on the back from his cousin Pierre. And as William at last prepared to moor his vessel at Fort Astron after 2 days travelling, he himself had to admit that a cursed life he may be living, but a life he could find himself getting used to if only he could find a way to see more of his wife and children. Feeling quite exhausted, hungry and thirsty from his exertions at sea, he at last finished unloading his vessel, delivering the cave mushrooms and the sulphur picked up at Firefly Grotto. With this delivery he now had over 800 crowns, and decided he would spend some of them in the comfort of the inn across the bay. Waking up the next morning, he decided that before picking up a new cargo here at Fort Astron, he would first take the Cog Onyx round to the shipyard, the only shipyard in the archipelago, and there hope he may find a new suite of sails for his vessel. A worthwhile investment that he hoped would truly increase the Cog Onyx's speed, especially when sailing to windward, that is, going upwind. Moving around to the shipyard called for a rather touchy manoeuvre. Tacking into the wind whilst in a port was not easy to do, but William at last got the head round and let the cog's momentum carry it into the shipyard. Here William tried several new sail plans. He would like to get rid of the ship's aft castle too, but he knew he didn't have even close enough finances to cover the cost, and so for now the top heavy platform would have to remain. And the type of sailing plan William was working with, or rather hoping to work with, was that of a topsail sloop rig, with fore and aft jibsail and gaffsail augmented by a square topsail for increased speed when sailing to leeward or downwind. In the end, William decided to keep the existing 9-yard square sail to act as the ship's topsail, but change it for some finer blue cloth, but also decided to add an 8-yard gaff sail to act as the ship's new mainsail, giving the Onyx a far better term of speed when sailing to windward, when used in conjunction with the ship's new small Genoa jib headsail. And though it didn't really fit well on the vessel, William also decided to add a small 2.5-yard sprit sail to set under what little bowsprit the Cog Onyx possessed. And so with new yards and sails in place, the shipyard paid William moved to take the cog back round towards the docking area and pick up his next contract, immediately noticing the vessel's new handling characteristics as he did so. Mooring up once again, he moved on to get his next contract and continue with his new adventurous style of living. He couldn't help but feel a small amount of excitement as his cursed life might soon take him away from the Astral Islands and off to far-flung regions, where true wealth may well be found, enough to free him of his curse. Once again, thank you ever so much for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed this second part of my little story here. Captain Bertrannd will sail again, and perhaps soon we'll find out why he has such a melancholic attitude to life. Anyway, thank you once again. Please subscribe, like and leave a comment, and see you again soon. Cheerio.